Hi, I'm Theo, and these broadcasts are to support the blogs on nomoresea.com's website as well as the online classes in this episode and how to on Luke chapter 7 verses 18 to 35 study. Okay, welcome back to the No More Sea broadcast. In this episode, I wanted to show my students how to use Logos again, and I am doing a Bible study online with a group of people internationally, and I thought what fun it might be check out Logos and use the free version of Logos in-house. So I want to take the free version of Logos and then show you now in those videos. I take a passage of Luke inside the Gospel of Luke chapter 7 that my weekly Bible class, Bible study is on. And I use some, stuff from Logos and I do the study, but I wondered how I would do the study if I didn't have the resources I used in Logos, and if I could use the free version to come out to something similar. And so what I want to do in this video is show you how to kind of do the same thing in Logos with the free version for those who do not have the resources that I mentioned in those other videos. So you can check out those other videos on the use of the Hebrew Bible, or what Christians call the Old Testament, in Luke chapter 7. And so I would immediately start off by typing, we're in Luke chapter 7, and I know, according to the study, I think it's verse 22. So let's just type that in here in the Go box and see what pops up. Okay, so a lot of mess. So here's a commentator. I'm going to cut that out because I need to, and I'm going to close these help windows because I want to focus on the passage at hand. But I want to see, in my Bible study, we're in Luke chapter 7, and John the Baptist sends his disciples to ask a question, and Jesus answers it in chapter 7, verse 22. And obviously, I just went to Logos and, pounded it out, and in a matter of minutes, I was able to understand some things that I really wanted to understand. Now, if you've watched that video, you're going to notice, and I don't know how well you can see that because of my screen capture software, but one of the things I point out is, this idea come. Are you the one who is to come, or should we look for another? And I click on that word come, and down here is the Greek, so I can see in the reverse interlinear of the free version of Lexham English Bible that comes with the free version that I have, following all the steps to get the free version. I have the interlinear down here. So it gives me that Greek word, but it also shows me that word appears next in verse 20. So I get it here in verse 19 and then here in verse 20. So it's showing me that word. Now, I can right click on that word. I can, choose again that Greek word, and I can do a study on that Greek word. And again, it's going to give me some information. So I've got some, here's the lemma, what it means, and I've got some information on, I can go to get more information in my study tools, in the lexicons. The Septuagint, is going to tell me it's used there, so that's going to give me a hint about walking and going. So interesting. We talked a little bit about that. So I can click here, and it's going to give me that this word appears in the Septuagint this many times. It appears in the New Testament so many times. So that's going to give me some correlations. So I can look at that and those words, and then now you can again right click and you can choose the lemma, and then you can copy that. So you can copy the text. So if you choose the lemma and then copy text, and now you have the text, and you should be able to paste that wherever you want. So if you want to do a search with it, you can do a search with it. If you want to make a slide, you go to your PowerPoint or whatever, your Google Slides or whatever you're using to make slides, and you can paste that in. And you'll have that available for you to do. So that's another way you can make slides, is copy the Greek and then, move it over into what you want to use it and paste it and make your slide, or make your notes or whatever you're doing, make your exams if you're a professor, whatever you want to do. Another thing of interest you can do is, again, as we've copied the lemma, then you can go to Tools, type in the word text, get the text converter open, paste that into the text converter, and you have the original language, whether it be Hebrew or Greek, and then you can get the transliteration. And here is the SBL Greek transliteration and some others that might be of use, even Unicodes. So that's pretty interesting. And so you can use that if you need to. So that'll get you transliteration through the text conversion. And it works also on Hebrew. So if you're in an Old Testament passage, you copy the Hebrew and stick it here, it's going to give you the transliteration. So if, we're talking about verses 19 and 20, I can do that. So I highlight those verses in the Lexham English Bible and click on the word share. Let's see if it pops up. And there we go. We're going to get it. So you're going to get this, the verses, and then you can choose what background you want to use to show in the free version. So, if you want this change the background, you can change it. It's going to give you Luke chapter 7, verses 19-20 in the Lexham English. Then you can choose to send it to PowerPoint. You can, save it as a file, and share it. You Facebook or whatever, So those are different options that you can do. So I only consulted one commentary, and you don't want to consult the commentaries until the end of your studies. If you know anything really, you shouldn't consult any commentaries till the end of your studies and confirm what you find out on your own study. And so, but here's Luke chapter 7, verse 22, and it's, again, I'm going to get rid of all these other versions. I just want to focus. So I just typed in the go box in the top of Logos, Luke 7:22, and that's what I want. And it says, and he answered and said, to them, go and tell John what you have seen and heard. The blind receive their sight, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, and the dead are raised, and the poor of the good news announced to them. So I want to focus on that and see if I can get similar results from the free version of Logos. So right off the bat, and I have not prioritized my resources, and I would suggest you go to the study guide and look up how to prioritize your resources in Logos. And so it's just, here's all the free stuff, and this is all the commentaries. So now, I have not made any content of my own. I've not made any notes in the free version here. So if you've got any notes, they would pop up here. Anything you've done in your Logos should show up here, obviously, because if you've interacted with the passage, and you should. So we're in the passage guide. I'm going to close everything out here in the passage guide. I just want to close it all out and get this out of the way too. So I just want to close everything down here for now. And just kind of look at the passage guide. And I would, again, suggest you go through the study guide, the training videos, and things that I've pointed to on this channel for you to understand. But notice at the top, I typed in Luke 7:22 in the go box, and it takes me immediately to a passage guide. So this is going to guide me on how to use Logos to study this. And the very first box is your content. So again, this is the free version. It's not my normal version I use, so it's empty. But That should tell you something, that you should study this passage out on your own, and you should come up with your own notes and do your own research and put that first. And then when you come back to study this at another time, you should engage also with your own stuff first, what you did before you consult the next section. Now, you can change the order of these. I haven't messed with this. I've messed with my Logos, but the free version I've not messed with. And so the next one is the commentaries. And here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 commentaries that came. Now, this one's from 1997. That's not too bad. This is from 1953. That's getting a little old. Here's the Faith Life Study Bible, 2012. That's a little newer, so that's not bad. But here's 1859. I didn't get a date on this one without clicking on it, but it's quite old. And then with 1560. So these are some old commentaries. So you're probably going to want to get some better commentaries. But if you want to, you can do that. But I would advise you not to start with the commentaries at all. Maybe the Faith Life Study Bible, if you want to get into that a little bit. We can do that in a moment, maybe, and see what they got. Now, sadly, there's no journal results, and you're always wanting to get journal results. So if you can get online access to databases, to journals, or through your institution somehow get access to journals, libraries where you can physically go to a library, you want to get journal access if you can. Unfortunately, there's no journals, articles that are in the free version that address this. Now, one of the key things I pulled out was someone asked me, in this week's study for me to focus, because they wanted me to focus on this passage for some reasons. And so here's parallel passages, and in the Gospels, you're going to have some parallels. And so this is automatically letting me know that Matthew 11 is a parallel here that I need to consider. And so I'm going to want to look at that. So here's a more refined passage, and here's a broader passage. And you can see what Matthew's doing and what Luke's doing to get a parallel for that. Here's something important, cross-references. And you do, in the free version, get the treasury of scripture knowledge, which I highly suggest that you grab a hold on, and it's going to grab you, take you through words and get you some of the verses in the Bible that the person who compiled this, or the people that compiled this, how you're going to run into some other Bible verses that are going to relate to the various words and phrases in chapter 7, verse 22. And it's going to, there's John, there's verse 21. They want you to see. And here's chapter 18. Luke's going to deal with the same kind of thing. So, on the word go. So, and then moving on to other passages, and then moving on to the lame and the lepers. So this idea of go is going to appear elsewhere. And then you can deal with the lame, the lepers, the deaf, the dead. And so this is another one. Another volume is included this one in a different language. And so you have Isaiah 29:18, Isaiah 35:5 and 6, Isaiah 61:1, and Luke 4:18. If you go back and see my videos, you're going to see some of these verses popped up. So this picked up several of the verses that I talk about in the video, but not all of them. And some of these features are grayed out because they're not available in the free version. And then you have some that are, but this is no results. Biblical people here. Interestingly, we have a deaf person, so you can see how the Bible deals with deaf people. You have a leper, you have a lame person, and you can get more, so you can show them all and go down through here. And you can deal with a poor person, a blind person, more about John the Baptist, and a dead person, and kind of get you an idea of what's going on in here. So when Jesus is kind of speaking to John's disciples, he's letting them know you probably want to go to some of these places. And we talked about some of them in that other video. So this is more on how to do this. Interestingly, there's an outline on Luke in a journal volume that I have free, so that might be able to help you. Faith Life sermons, you're going to find different people who've done sermons on these, and maybe that you can go to those, and maybe those sermons will help you. Some thematic outlines, based on some concepts inside this passage, some topics that pop up, and you could do a topical guide. Deafness is one that they suggest for this verse. And so you can go down through here, you can compare some other versions and see where the King James is related to Darby and Young's Literal, and kind of do comparison and click on through that. Again, you need to go to the study guide and get the tutoring videos and look all these up. You can find in the bookstore where, this verse is popping up in books. And then maybe you can get access to these books online elsewhere if they're not in your library. You have previews, so maybe you can get access to some of the content in the preview. That will help you with your bibliography if you need a bibliography kind of to work towards. Faith Life Media, any media that you want that's associated with this. So if you're doing something and you need a slideshow presentation, here's something, a couple on Luke that you could use in developing your slideshows, as I, did a slideshow on mine. Some other media, doesn't look like there's anything available there. And sermon audio, you can listen to sermons that people have done on this verse and what they've decided to do with that. And you can continue on. So that's some of the ways that you could do what we've done. So the treasure scripture knowledge, you're going to find some of the verses maybe that we dealt with where we talked about some of the things in that video, but it's there are some limitations. Now, before we leave the passage guide, I wanted to show you that it's also available here under guides, and you can type in the word passage, but it's at the top. Now, my actual research was surrounding more verses than that one single verse that I focused on the video, and so I wanted you to understand that if you choose a larger passage in your passage guide than one single verse, then some of these down below would get more results. So I didn't want you to think that the free version is so limited that it has nothing, because you can clearly see that there will be more information. We have some interesting things here. This popped up. It was not there earlier, so it popped up. So we have something new here. So, all these search results are going to show you something more, under these headings, because obviously, I've typed in more information. So then Logos knows to make it bigger as far as, looking in a long thing. One of the things I did do is I used also to make a passage list. For one of the slides, you'll notice I have a list of passages. So I made a passage list using Logos. So that's a video you want to look at. So you can always Google that and look up how to make a passage list in Logos. Now, if you go here in the Lexham English Bible, you've got these. I'm going to turn this on. So I'm going to go to Tools, and I want Power Lookup so I can see the footnotes here. And so here's some footnotes inside the verse that's going to maybe help a little bit. And notice here I mentioned I'm studying the broader passage. I'm studying chapter 7, verse 18, all the way through 35. This single pericope, we call it. But you'll notice that. And so you're going to see in footnote E in the Lexham English Bible, we have a quotation from Malachi 3. So that picks up on the Malachi 3 language that was available there. So that's going to be helpful. So that's how you can get to some of the material. And then again, if you're stuck and you're not getting anywhere, something in, this is Lexham English Bible's Lexham Press, and that's the people that are a part of Logos. And then Faith Life Study Bible. Faith Life is the parent company, and that's their study Bible. And see, they're going to go through. So you got some information on John the Baptist. You could look him up, and you could go down through here. And, all these things, he's referring back to what's going on in verses 11 through 17. So that's going to tell you there's a connection. And in my video, I make a connection to that previous pericope. So that's right here. If you didn't make that connection yourself, the Faith Life Study Bible will help you make that connection. And then now they don't get so much into chapter 7, verse 19, what I did with that, but you can watch the video what I did. But here's the passages that we brought up. Some of the passages that were brought up in the video are here. Not all, but many of them are. It says go back to chapter 1, verse 27. There's a note there you can check out. It says go to, again, Matthew 11:6, and there's a note there you can check out. So it gives you a little more. And so if you visit all these notes, perhaps you'll get a good bit of what I tried to do in those videos. So I realize that you are somewhat limited in the free version, and possibly, there is maybe some of these other commentaries are going to pull out some of the things, and maybe not, because, they can't do everything. But some of the other commentaries might pull out some of the points that I made in the previous, and they may give something that I didn't even consider, because I haven't looked at any of the other commentaries. And so if I go to the Net Bible, all right, and we go to our passage, this has got so many help buttons that you should follow. I'm not going to, because I've already been here. But if you can get to Luke chapter 7, if you can get to the Net Bible, and this is free, so this is the netbible.org, and go to Luke chapter 7, you got all these notes here. Look how many notes you got. So if you click on this, here's all these notes, and again, they're going to help you with some of these aspects. Now look, down here, note number 97, and it's going to show you that there's a direct quote in footnote number 96, footnote number 97, but we're getting a direct quote here. So maybe he's going to give it to us. So Malachi 3:1, but Exodus 23:20. So again, as I said, note number 97 is going to show you, here's in bold, here's what I was talking about, that this is a quote. It's a quote from Malachi chapter 3, verse 1, but Luke has chosen also to take portions of it and use Exodus 23:20. And so the Net Bible is free, and it's going to give you some of these connections as well. And so understanding that Malachi, so if Luke is going to Malachi, but then Malachi is going back to Moses in the Exodus, then that's what you have to do. You have to make those logical jumps, that Luke may have in mind what's going on in Malachi, and because he has in mind that, but then Malachi has in mind Moses, and so he has in that mind, so Luke might have in mind both, and Luke might want you to think of both. And so we did the whole Moses and Elijah thing because Luke is doing that. And so this is, all of this is fantastic. So here's the Net Bible. And again, I start with verse 18 in this pericope, going down here to 35, and again you have all these footnotes, okay, and I didn't go into those in the video, the rest of those, but I'm showing in this video how you could go here and you could get free information without paying anything. You can get free information and get some of these things that I did in the video for free. Again, note number 83. Look, it's got the Isaiah 35, 26, 29, 61 passages here. Look, he's going right back to Luke 4:27, which is what I did. He's going back to verse 18 here. So, you got in the free versions of this, the Net Bible, Net 2 Bible. So they've just recently updated it. So you got the most up-to-date version of the Net Bible. And you've got all these wonderful notes that they're going to give you that's going to help you make those same connections. And here he's going back to Luke 3. So, some of the stuff that we did. So in that video, and it's going to take you back. So starting right here at note number 66, And reading all these notes, it's going to help you, guide you, and get you through and make some of the connections that I made in those videos. And you're not paying for anything. So, or it's pointing you to where you could get some of those things. And all of this is for free. And I mean, it's amazing. You start at note number 66. And by the time you get to the end of this pericope, it's on note 123. So that's almost, 60 notes of information to help you with the Bible. So not only do you have Logos, but you have the Net Bible as well to help you study this passage. And that's to me exciting. And all of that's free. And if you can get, if you want to, you can get the $15 and pay for that other tool, but you may not need it because you have it right here. So you can use the Faith Life Study Bible, you can use the Net Bible, and maybe notes in your own Bible. So here we are at the Biblia website. That's free by Faith Life. Now I haven't signed in, but I would highly suggest you sign in here. So sign in to your account, which I'm not signed in at the moment. You can go to biblia.com. That's the website by Faith Life. The people behind Logos, behind the Faith Life Study Bible, behind Lexham. Look, you got all these different versions. Again, I'm not signed in. These are all the free versions. You can get access to all these free versions. All of these free versions, okay? But just for instance, going to ESV then, you're going to get, look, it's telling you, okay, this is the pericope, Luke 7:18 to 35, but look at the parallel is at Matthew 11, verses 2 to 19. So it's going to give you that parallel. All right? Are you the one who's coming? It's going to say that John talks about this same thing in chapter 4, chapter 6, and chapter 11 of the Gospel of John. Shall we look for another? Luke's already talked about that in chapter 3, verse 15. You can go back there. So are you the one? Again, Luke 7:19. Well, they just asked the question. So this is referring back to what just happened in the previous verse. Do we look for another? Again, go back here and you're going to see that. And so in that hour, what happened? And you're going to see the same thing happening in Mark chapter 1, verse 34. And he does all these things. And look at all these references where we're talking about on the blind. So you have connections to the blind here. And so go tell, again, verse 22, go tell John what you've seen and heard, the blind. There's those Isaiah verses we talked about. Lepers. Again, Luke talks about lepers elsewhere. And again, it's going to tell you that it's not necessarily, go to see Leviticus 13 for what they're talking about there in the notes there. Here's the deaf. Here's the dead. Okay, here's the poor. So you're going to get some chance to get some of these notes. Again, more Isaiah references. So between the ESV and Biblia, between the netbible.org, between the free tools and Faith Life in Logos, you're going to get some of these things. And there's more, There is more. The Christian Standard Bible does a good job of this. So, here they have. Isn't it amazing? Now, I guess it's for some reason my internet is messed up, but it's giving me this in Greek letters. So I don't know why my internet's been doing this lately, but there's Malachi chapter 3. Again, we talked about. So you're going to get some of these connections here if you go to a different translation. And, they're highlighting here that this is a different version. Of course, for some reason, the font is coming out funny. I don't know why, but down here, they have it. So this is another way that by reading several different English translations of the Bible, then you can get some of these cross references and letting you know what's going on, depending on those who have notes. And again, using free options. It's quite possible in some of these free options, you'll get these little footnotes that are going to give you the extra information that you would not get. And you can get from freely checking them out. New American Standard has these nice little footnotes to what they're doing here. And they're going to help you. So the blind receive their sight, Isaiah 35. Now, they don't make the connections we did with the lepers and the deaf and things that we did. Now, the gospel preached to the poor, they do in Isaiah. So they get some of them. So you're going to get some, maybe not everything that I got in that other video, but still we have the New Century. You have the New Living Translation to go to yet. You can check out those and see if any of these other ones, the Good News Translation, the Holman Christian Standard Bible, more King James, the Message Bible, there's the net here, the NIV. So maybe some of these are going to help you find some of those connections that we found. So these are some ways that you can do what I did in another video. Maybe not as good as I did, obviously, because I spent the money and went to the commentary, and I have the other tools that get me there. But these are some ways that you can get close to what I was doing for yourself that are freely available if you working out. And again, you just maybe I'll go to your library and they might have some commentaries that would help point out some of those same verses for you, and you can make some of the connections that I made as well. Now, I'm back in my regular Logos, and again, I use the commentary by Beale and Carson, their editors, into videos that I'm talking about. But if you don't have access to those or can afford those, here's a cheaper tool that's only about $15 if you can get that, or if you can get someone to gift it to you. And we're in Luke chapter 7, and it's going to give you these links. And so I mentioned in the video Malachi 3:1, but I didn't in Psalm 47. So that's interesting. There's a connection here. There's Isaiah 26, 29, 35, 42 that we did mention, Isaiah 61, again Malachi 3, the Exodus 23:20, Genesis 18 that I talked about, so briefly. I didn't mention it specifically by the reference, but I tell the story. Interestingly, it pops up. So in this chapter, but that's in a later verse that I didn't cover. So most of the verses that I pulled out in that video can be found in this tool that I use a lot. It's the New Testament use of the Old Testament. And so if you can get a hold of this in Logos, then that's a wonderful tool for you. And I'm seeing it here. Again, it's $15. And so if you can get a hold of this, but it's also included some of these bigger packages, which are kind of expensive. So, that gets quite expensive. But if, the academic feature upgrade is where I probably got it from, and look how much that costs. But it's only $15 if you look this up in your browser in Logos on their website. Then you can click on this video and you can learn how to use this. And this is $15. And if you can't, wherever you're at, maybe afford this, but someone, this is one of the tools I would highly suggest that maybe you do spend some money on, and would give you this, and someone could give you a gift card in Logos for $15, and you could buy this, add this to your cart, and it would be something you could add to your Logos and you could get it. So that would be something valuable for you to use. So I'm thinking that's another way. Thank you very much, and God bless you for listening. Stay tuned for more episodes in videos to help you with your journey from nomorec.com.